There are those that hide their chronic conditions behind a curtain. And then there are those who bring them to center stage. At age 16, Oliver Kaye was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis and chose to pull back the curtain of social stigma and take the public stage with his own story that includes not only a major surgery, but a stoma bag he'll carry for the rest of his life. Thank you so much, Oliver, for taking the time to share your story with us. We appreciate you. So here's the thing. Many people have heard of ulcerative colitis, but have no idea what it is. For those unfamiliar with this inflammatory bowel disease, fill us in. We're curious to know what your experience with UC has been and what symptoms led up to your diagnosis.
Yeah, so as you said, I hadn't heard of ulcerative colitis until I was diagnosed, I guess. So the way it started, it was in autumn 2019. I began experiencing very, very mild symptoms, very mild, just some loose stools and some weight loss. So it was persistent for about 3 months. So I had to go and check it out at the doctor. And then from there, I got referred onto a gastro team which specialised in gastrointestinals, and they ran some tests and blood tests. And also they sent me out for a colonoscopy, which is basically just a scan basically through your whole digestive system, from your mouth right down to the tail, to see exactly what was going on, seeing exactly what was going on inside me. And then from there, they were able to diagnose me with ulcerative colitis fairly quickly, actually. I mean, there's not really an average, but it can take between days and even decades to be diagnosed with this disease. So I was quite lucky we caught it quite early. And so ulcerative colitis is an inflammatory bowel disease, as you said. It's an autoimmune condition that causes inflammation and ulceration of your large intestine. And it's also, so with ulcerative colitis, with ulcerative colitis, you can have, it's a type of IBD, as you said, so inflammatory bowel disease. That's an umbrella term for Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. So I've got ulcerative colitis, and this is the type of inflammatory bowel disease that just affects your large intestine, whereas Crohn's disease is similar. It's an autoimmune condition that causes inflammation. This can happen anywhere in your digestive system, like from your mouth, your esophagus, your stomach, small intestine, right down to your rectum. So that's they're sort of cousins, they say, in the medical field. They're related. And so I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis in the end.
Wow. So, many people live with UC, but have no idea. Well, but they have an idea what it is. They use medication to manage their condition. Was a surgery that you had required, or was that an option that you chose? And what was the physical adjustment that you had to go through for that?
Yeah, so I began on medication, like most patients. So I was put on, because I was first diagnosed with mild disease. So my condition wasn't that severe, wasn't causing me major changes at first. I mean, I was still going to school, I was playing sport. I guess I was able to go away on holiday before COVID. And so, my life wasn't that affected when I was diagnosed. It was slightly different, apart from that. So I was put on medication, which was hopefully going to control the disease, and which I would have had to take in this pill for the rest of my life. But that didn't really work out, because it must have been about 3-4 weeks later, my UC progressed pretty rapidly to acute severe. My symptoms just got really, really, really bad. I was admitted to hospital for about a week, about 10 days. I missed a lot of school. I missed time with my mates, and I was just stuck in hospital, and I was just really unwell. Wasn't sleeping, losing a lot of weight. And so after that, I was put on some more medication. There's loads of medications out there. So I was literally just put on a tier list on the next drug, then the next drug, the next drug, to see which one would work. So I was then put on some stronger drugs, as I said. And long story short, none of these medications were working. I mean, these were really, really strong medications, like steroids and biologics. They're meant to be really strong meds, but I was just non-responsive to any of them. My body just didn't react to them, which I guess is sort of bad luck. I mean, the cause of this is unknown. Like, the technology, unfortunately, hasn't discovered what's the cause behind this disease. It's a chronic illness with no cure. But I was then admitted to hospital again, as my symptoms got probably even worse. It must have been about, I think it was the beginning of April, I was admitted again. And this time it was a lot worse, as I said. And this was the time when I first introduced the prospect of surgery, which is obviously like the worst, they say is the worst outcome, or the last possible option you can go through. So I luckily actually got better in hospital that time. In April, I was right in hospital right through the peak of the pandemic here in the UK, when the cases were at their highest. So that was tough. I wasn't allowed anyone to come visit me. I was literally just stuck in between those four walls. I wasn't allowed to eat or drink. I was just stuck on medication, just trying to, get this inflammation down. But I luckily did get a bit better. I was allowed to return home about 2 weeks later, so in the middle of April, and I continued on the drugs I was on. Again, they were pretty strong drugs like immunosuppressants and biologics and some other treatments as well that go along with it. And we tried to give them a bit more time, see if they can have an effect, because these drugs can take quite a while to have a proper effect on your body. So we tried to have some patience with the meds and to see if they would work, but they just weren't having an effect. So surgery was, going on your question if it was planned or an emergency, it was probably half and half. It was an emergency because I wasn't getting better, the meds weren't working, but it was also planned because I wanted to, the decision between my medical team, myself, family, it was just that I wanted to get better, really. And that was the way to go.
Wow. Such a major thing to go through. Just at such an age, like you've got enough you got to deal with being 16, and then this on top of it. Okay, so this happens. You go through. You have it. So the physical adjustment for you, how has it been now that you have this bag now? So, and most people don't know what that's all about. And how has that been for you? The adjustment, like physically, how have you adjusted to this new reality for yourself?
I think physically, I mean, the day I woke up after my surgery, I wouldn't say I could see a difference, but my diseased colon basically it was removed from my body. So my body was able to function normally, as you could say. So my energy levels and everything else that goes along with a bodily function, just I could feel it on that day I woke up that my body is able to function normally. So every day after that surgery, I was able to get stronger, put on weight again, sleep, and get my bloods back up to a normal level. I was losing a lot of blood and becoming very anemic. My hemoglobin counts were quite low. So I was just getting, back to normal, and that obviously took quite a long time. But again, after surgery, I definitely, physically, it made me a normal teenager again.
Oh, that is awesome. And then what about emotionally? What about, I mean, because this is a lot to deal with. I mean, yes, it's a physical thing, but there's a lot of other things. How did you manage this transition just emotionally, mentally?
Yeah, mentally, it definitely was tough. So the way I saw it back then, so obviously you've got to imagine that I was in a situation where I was really, really ill and just none of my meds were working. So I just wanted to get better. As a teenager, I didn't want to be stuck in hospital, even through a pandemic as well. So I just wanted to get better. And this surgery, you could call it a cure for ulcerative colitis, even though it's not, because it basically just removes the disease almost completely. So it was going to make me better, and it was going to be painful at first, but I knew that in the long term it would make me better and stronger and up to hopefully healthy again, which I can say I am. So I think mentally it was tough at first, adjusting to it, managing to, just managing the stoma, just cleaning it, changing it. I think I adjusted pretty quickly. I was able to learn it pretty quickly, but then adjusting to it in my own individual way, just as I'm living life now, I'm even learning new things.
Right. Well, that's awesome. Okay, so here's the thing. There are wraps. I did some research. I'm like, okay, what is Oliver really dealing with here? And so I did the research, and so there's all kinds of wraps and special belts and clothing options and hacks for concealing a stoma bag, but you didn't find a need for any of these. Rather, you found a need instead for having the bag seen and your story heard. In your own words, why?
So there's a few reasons why I wanted to speak out and why I created my own social media platform. So the first reason was that when I was in hospital, I turned to social media as a way just to find some hope about just that life could get better somehow. And I luckily did find this amazing community out there, in similar situations to me at the time. They'd gone through the same thing. And they were living their life, happily, healthily, out and about, playing sport, exercising, just being happy. So that really gave me a massive boost that life will get better. And that made me just push through to go with the surgery, actually. And so that even inspired me to make my own social media platform, as I said, so that I could give other people, especially young people, where this disease is actually most common between young people ages 16 to 24. It is. So yeah, it's just to give people that extra comfort, that extra inspiration, that life will get better. And also because there is quite a lot of stigma around stoma bags, and just bowel disease in general can be quite awkward, quite embarrassing to talk about. But it is very common in society. I mean, the statistics show that the numbers are growing. And so it is important that we share our symptoms with doctors so we get the right treatment, get the correct treatment as early as possible so we can get under control and get better. So they're really the main reasons why I speak out about my condition, to remove that stigma, spread awareness, but also to give people who are in similar situations to me that extra inspiration, as I said.
Right. Well, I think it's awesome. Your bravery to make seen what is usually unseen. Like I said, it's inspiring. What advice would you have to those who are afraid of having their invisible illness seen? What advice do you have for them?
I mean, everyone has their own ways of dealing with, their individual battles. I mean, everyone's got their own way of coping with it, talking about it. But I would say for me that it has helped me accept my condition mentally as well, and that's definitely helped with my recovery. And so people can be more understanding if something happens, or you just need someone to understand quickly, and they know that what you're going through, so they can be, as I said, more understanding about your condition. But I think it's just thinking about that you've got this condition that the majority of people don't have, and it will make you stronger in the long run when you face another challenge in your life, and you'll look back on this moment and you'll say, if I can overcome that, I can overcome anything. And that should be the way you look forward, I would think.
Right. Well, I agree with you, and think what you're doing and how you're doing it is again just inspiring. And so thank you for sharing your story here with us. We're honored and proud to share it with others. For people who want to support you, certainly they can share your story and share your profile and whatnot with other people, but is there anything else that they can do to support you in your work and what you're trying to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's just about being understanding with people. I mean, you never know what people are going through. Everyone's got their own individual battles. Some people are just better at hiding it than others. And I wouldn't say lucky enough, but I'm more open about my condition. However, a lot of people, and I say the majority of people, and it is easier to just not talk about these things. So it's just about not judging a book by its cover, basically, and just, being understanding and not judging people by the outside, because you never know what's going on in the inside.
That's right. Well, thank you again so much for making the choice that you did, for taking center stage with your condition to help people feel okay with coming into the light about it and to just embracing it and accepting it. It's just an incredible story. And hopefully it's one that will just empower and educate many people. as I'm sure that it will. So thank you so much for taking the time to share yourself and your story with us. We're appreciative of you. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you as well for helping me share awareness, spreading awareness as well
For
with your
sure.
audience as well.
Well,
Definitely.
right. Because that's where it begins. I mean, before we take any actions and whatnot, it all like people just need to know about it, you know? So with the education, we can empower people. And so your story does that. So, so what's next for you anyway? After you get done with high school and whatnot, what do you want to do with yourself?
I mean, yeah, I'm at that stage now. I mean, here in the UK, I was doing something called A levels, which is, I'm not sure the equivalent in the US, but it's like a year before university.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm starting to think about applying for unis, doing something at uni, hopefully. But I don't know yet. I may do medicine. I could do something with, I don't know, anything really. I'll just see
Well,
how my life plans out, really.
right. Well, I think it's a very healthy perspective to have. There's a lot of things to do with yourself. So, whatever you do, we have all confidence you're going to do amazing things with yourself. Certainly, the confidence that you display now, taking something that comes at you and being able to use it to a positive to help other people. We applaud you and thank you and appreciate you again, Oliver, so much. We're so glad we connected and have had the chance to hear and
Yeah,
share your story. Thank you so much.
and you.